This is the Real Estate Powerplay Podcast, getting you the information that you need to be a successful real estate investor. Hosted by Mark Monroe, Ronald Walker, Gabe Rodarte, and me, Marty Grizzanti. Combined, we've done thousands of real estate transactions. So get ready for real stories and true case studies on finding deals, growing portfolios, and making money. Welcome to the show.
Welcome everybody to Real Estate Power Play. We got the power team, and tonight we got Marty Grizzanti and Mark Monroe, and we're going to be talking about step by step how to find how to fix and flip a house and make tons of money doing it. So that's what we're doing. So Marty, man, how you doing today?
I'm good, boys. Good to see you guys, Ronnie, Mark. It's been a while, but I'm glad to be back. Let's get this thing cracking, because I know we can all add a lot of value to this topic, as we've all done it and are still doing it. So I look forward to it.
Absolutely. I think kind of stepping back to the basics, right? When you step back to the basics and you get those dribbles down right, and you're shooting from the free throw line, it just makes you better, right? Over and over. Mark, how you doing?
I'm doing well, doing extremely well. Just back in the States after being down in South Africa. I was having a great time down there. It was winter. Food is phenomenal. Love it.
That's awesome. So you were in South Africa, and then you're going somewhere else, right? You got like 2 more trips planned.
Well, I'm going to Nashville. I'm speaking at an event up in Nashville June 2nd, and then I come back, and then on the 10th we're going down to Canary Islands. So I'm looking forward to that as well. So this is the time of year I like to travel.
Dude, that's awesome. Well, guys, we're gonna jump right into the meat and potatoes of what does fixing and flipping look like here in the industry. And I would really like to start with Marty. Marty, I know this is your primary strategy. I know you got in and you're holding rentals and you're doing the investment property. So why don't you just kind of start off and give everybody an overview of the just high level overview, start to finish, from finding to selling. What does it look like to flip a property?
Yeah, and really where you can win and do it very successfully is finding the deal, right? All the other stuff is important, sure, but it's the deal itself that's going to separate in how you really make your money, right? Because just like a rental, you're making money when you buy the property. So high level, it's finding a deal and what that looks like in your market. It's then making sure that you have a plan, a scope of work that needs to be done in order to then add value to that property, to then, as fast as humanly possible, put it back on the market to sell for as much as humanly possible. And that is really high level. You find the deal, you get in, you fix it, and then you sell it for a lot of money.
Nice. I love that. So Mark, obviously that's a really high level side of it. And I know we're all kind of buying, holding, reselling. When you're looking at actually taking down a property, whether you're going to do the rehab or not, what is the primary thing at the very beginning that you're looking for?
I'm looking pretty much at my numbers. That's the main thing, is like, what's my contingency on, if something goes wrong. And you guys all been there, like you start to do a fix and flip project and it kind of, you run into some situation. My last one, I did it virtually. It was up in Jacksonville. I never stepped foot in it. And had people walk through, kind of give me an estimate, and then I finally purchased the property. And then the GC went through and they're like, oh, your whole floorboards in the front are completely gone. Like when you walk, you squish. And like, so my people that went there and inspected property before I went and closed on it didn't tell me about it. And it cost me an extra $18,000. So you want to make sure you give yourself. So I'm always looking, that's the main thing I'm looking at, is like, okay, this is my projection, but let me add another 10, 15% of whatever it costs on top of it to give myself a cushion. That's kind of what I'm looking at.
Nice. I read something recently in a book I've been reading. He said, before I buy the deal, I want the most pessimistic person to tell me everything that's going on when I'm looking at this property. And then once I buy the deal, I want all the optimists on my team to help me get through this whole thing and go from there. So let's kick off with finding, right? We've talked a lot about finding in the past as far as finding the deal, but I really want to narrow in on this concept of what are you willing to buy, right? Like, what do you know, we're looking for deals. We're constantly going out there. And if your guys' market is anything like mine, there's a whole bunch of properties that are just not desirable to actually buy, right? Like, just not, like, you see them and they get pushed out, whether it's by other wholesalers, whether it's stuff you're finding seller direct. So, how do you define the target property that you want to buy? Is there a certain buy box? Is there a certain thing that you're looking for in the property? Are you trying to fall in love with this property? Something that, like, maybe a buyer would fall in love with? Marty, I want to kick that off because I think you take a little bit different approach than just buying everything where the numbers look okay.
Yeah, look, I mean, when I gave you my high level, I mean, on paper, that's what you're doing. But in the reality is you got to know your market and you got to know your numbers, right? I mean, you can't just blindly buy stuff and then try to fix it up nice and to sell it. You got to know who's your target audience here, right? So you want to find exactly that zip code that you is hot, right? So you'll know, right? And how do you know? Well, typically it's what are the school districts in your area that are highly desirable, right? Where is that neighborhood that is a highly desirable neighborhood that has the ugliest house on that street? That's what you're targeting, right? That's what you want to find. You want to find the shittiest house in the nicest street and with the best schools. So once you have, like, okay, I know I want to be in these suburbs. Awesome. That's done. Now you're good there. Now, all right, what do you have to buy things at? Well, what are the costs of the houses that are selling in that area that you like, in that zip code? Well, a 3-bed, 1-bath is selling for $250. Okay, awesome. Now you know that if it's all fixed up with the granite countertops and the cabinets and the flooring and all that shit and it looks great, well, you know you can get $250. So what do you got to do? Well, you got to typically get it for $100, right? If it needs all that work, because typically, guys, where we're at, our basic rehabs are right now about $50,000, right? So we're anywhere from $50,000 to an $80,000 rehab, if not higher to $100,000. Okay, so you got to keep that in mind. And there's a lot of mathematical equations you could use to do that stuff. I mean, there's really just one, and actually, I think Ronnie or Mark, you could probably speak to that. But yeah, you really want to know where are you going to go. And then once you find out where you want to go, you got to find the right deal. There's got to be motivation with the seller. Typically, these are not just, if it's not going to be on market, at least in where we are. You really got to you got to really scrub and scrounge to find it and really dig in. And then third, you want to have really good teammates on your team. Like, you got to have a good realtor who knows that neighborhood very well, that knows what it can sell for. And then you're going to need a contractor, a GC, who knows exactly what every little inch is going to cost you, so that you can really make sure your numbers are precise. Because, when you're in the battles, in the throes of a flip, you are going to get tested with, this expense and that expense. So you do want to have a really substantial buffer. I mean, our buffer is $40,000, because that's what we want, that we expect to make $40,000 on each flip. So we're going to have a little bit more than that buffer, right? So you really need to get a lot of these you need to get the properties at a discount. You got to know the area, and then you got to have really good teammates that know what they're doing for you to get into this world.
Dude, guys, he dropped some really good. Marty, you said you want to find the best neighborhoods with the crappiest properties. And this one of the mistakes I've made over the years is just like pulling a whole metropolitan area and just marketing to it. And then the double crapshoot. You've got the crappiest properties in the crappiest areas. And that's not right. That's not really what we're looking for, right? We're looking for those properties that can be gems at the end. No matter what you do to them, it's not something you're looking for. So, Mark, is there, from your side, when you're targeting a property, when you're trying to decide this is what I want, What is it that you think, on top of what Marty said, what do you think is some of those rules of thumb that you put in place when you're going after them?
So mine's a little different because I do stuff virtually all over the place. So when I have a deal that comes in, I'm looking at my exit strategy. Who's my buyer? That's kind of what I'm normally doing. I usually will go ahead and sell to somebody that's going to do a fix and flip. I have one right now. I mentioned to you guys, it's just between Orlando and Tampa. We put it on the market yesterday, and it needs about $50,000 worth of work. I'm not going to fix it. I had 9 offers come in the first day on that property, Airbnb guys. So I priced it correctly below the fix and flip. And I just don't want to, in this market, I don't want to go through the fix and flip aspect of it, because I don't know where the market's going. But in general, like when I was doing that last one I did up in Jacksonville, I had to really rely on boots on the ground. I had to do a lot of due diligence. I had to do my own research. The beauty today, you can jump online and kind of do a lot of the research. How's the school district, blah, blah, blah. And then what I did is I found a really good realtor that I was using to sell the property to the end, and she was my eyes and ears. And then I found a great contractor. And originally, the realtor wanted me to go with her contractor, and I'm glad I didn't. Come to find out, it was boyfriend and girlfriend, and I can just imagine they would have just slid things under the rug, where I went with somebody else that they didn't know. So she was like for example, in the second bathroom, he went and put a laundry sink in there instead of a regular sink, and she picked up on it and sent me photos. So that's kind of what I was looking at it on that one. So if I don't know the market that well, I'm going to look for somebody I can sell it to as a fix and flip, or partner up with somebody in that market. That's kind of what I tend to do.
So in that deal, you still purchased the property and relisted it.
That is correct. I purchased it subject to, and then took about a month and a half, 2 months to go through, and then turn around and listed it and did really well with it.
So when I was new, I thought that anything that wasn't a assignment was a fix and flip. So you can still buy the price. So, because a lot of people might say, hey, I'm not into fix and flip, right? That's what you said. I'm not really into fixing them up and selling them in this market. But what you're saying is you'll still buy them. You'll still buy them at the right price and then turn around and sell them to, say, someone who is going to do that. Can you maybe unpack that just a little bit? When we're talking about finding a target property that someone wants to invest in, that wants to make money in, what are you looking for in that, right? For those who are thinking, dude, I can either fix and flip or I can assign it. Well, no, you don't have to do either. There's another option. Can you unpack that for the audience?
Sure. I'm looking at both. I look at several different exit strategies. I always go into it plan A, B, and C. So if something happens, what's my next plan? I'm always looking at that. I don't go in there with just one strategy, because things happen all the time. What's my emergency? If I have to dump this for whatever reason, what's my worst case scenario? So on this particular one, each one of them is different. I saw that there's great profit there. I saw the potential. I knew I got a referral from the contractor, and I just felt like, hey, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead. In that market during the time, the Jacksonville market was going crazy, so I knew I could come out ahead and probably tack on another $25,000 profit on it versus just selling it. And actually, I ended up making about $32,000 extra doing a fix and flip versus if I just sold it outright.
I love that. I think that's awesome. When I jumped in, very similarly, I used to think when I bought it, I had to fix it up, right? For years, that it was either I'm going to assign it or I'm going to buy it and do a full-blown flip. It was probably not until 2016 that I realized that people are actually buying them and turning around and just putting them on the market for a fix and flipper to buy. Because I think it's becoming more and more common for people to look for their properties on the MLS today. And so, guys, if you're out there looking at deals, if you can line up, which we're going to talk to here in a little bit about just analyzing deal, if you can line up the funding, if you can figure out the acquisition, you don't have to do all the work. Now, kind of back to that, lining up the analyzing the property. And Marty, I want to go back to you. You talked about a scope of work, right? You talked about okay, you've got the property, you put it under contract, you're figuring out what it looks like. and you're trying to kind of distinguish that risk versus reward on this property, what's most important to you when you're doing that, right? Are you just trying to identify the number? Are you assessing certain risks? Is there certain types of rehabs you're not willing to do? Like if it has this, I'm not willing to go down that route. What does that analysis process look like for you to decide this is something I'm going to buy? We got a lot of comments, by the way, guys. You got
good comments coming in. Good comments coming in. So, our big part of our company is a fix and flip division, right? We have employees, so we like to keep them busy. So we're looking at when we're looking at properties, because we have a wholesaling division, but the wholesaling division is for the fix and flip division. So we really look at it one way, like, hey, we know this is going to work, right? Because we're buying it so right. We're buying it with a wholesale mindset. Right, the property is going to make sense. And
what does that mean? Buying it with a wholesale mindset?
The wholesale mindset is we're getting it at 40 cents on the dollar, right? We're getting it at 50 cents on the dollar at the most. So we can pick and choose, right? Like we're not just whimsical about, hey, we're going to buy this and then fix it up and then it'll be like a fun project. So it's very much, okay, we know, because guys, at the end of the day, we're 6 years of doing it. So it's a little different. Day one, folks, this wouldn't be something I would do straight up, right? Like you got to find the right deal to do this, and you have to have the right people, and because you can get punched in the face very quickly. That's why you have to have it at a wholesale price to fix and flip when you're new. But we have just kept that same mindset. We're not going to just, make something happen. It's gonna be there. Like we don't have to like, oh geez, like, is this gonna work? It's like, oh gosh, this thing, we could sell it to, it has to make a ton of sense for us. And we get really excited about the fix and flips that we do. So back to your question about the scope of work, that's again where having the contractors that are on our team, they can go, okay, we know what this costs. We have the surplus of this material. I mean, we know what this paint costs. We know all those things we have. It's already there. I am not the best guy to talk to about new flippers. It's not good for me right now. I haven't flipped with not having like our shit in order in a long time. So I guess I don't know, other than we just follow what Amber says, who's my partner's wife. And if Amber thinks it's good, and we know it is, because we can go in and we can see it right away that it's right in our wheelhouse, where it's like, it's cosmetic, guys, is what I really should say. It's a kitchen, it's a bath. We're not messing with if something's built on a slab, we don't like it. If something's pre-1900, we don't like it. If something has bad roof, we don't like it. Foundation, we don't like it. We are very picky. We're greedy, and we're fat and lazy. We want a kitchen, bath, floors, and paint. If that's all we have to do is a kitchen, a bath, floors, and paint, and the windows are new, and the roof is good, and the driveway's fine, then the rest will take care of itself. But you really got to be very specific and picky on what you buy.
So if that's the case, I'll ask, do you still find the deals you're looking for by being picky? I think that's the fear, right? Like that would be my fear, is the pickier I am, well, then I'm not going to find deals. Do you find that being true, or like where people have to kind of expand a little bit? Or do you find that being more true to what you want, you're just rewarded by sharing with people, this is exactly what I want, and so it comes to you? Exactly.
It's what you're looking for. You're telling people what you're looking for, and it starts to, you go, hey, this is my buy box. And, can we go against that? And will we do a roof? Sure. But then we're going to go, okay, what are our roofs cost right now, or on a regular 1,200 square foot house is going to be 30 grand. Right. So, okay, well, that's now the number that we have to put into effect. We want to make sure, okay, what about like the siding, right? What about all those things? To answer your question, Yeah, I still think because we're bananas with our marketing. Like we are targeting exactly what we're looking for in the neighborhoods, exactly what we're looking for. And for stuff that we don't want, we'll wholesale it out. But the stuff that we do want, because we're only doing 12 a year, we're not doing crazy amount of flips. We're doing 12, one a month. And the amount of marketing that we're doing it allows us to be picky. So if you don't have that skill set, if you don't have the marketing engine, then you're going to have to take some risks. And that's the way it is. And you'll learn a lot that way. Because again, this is 6 years of knowing exactly what we want to do, right? We don't want to do the big $150,000 rehabs anymore. We don't want to do the doubles, the duplexes, flips. We want to do this perfectly cosmetic. Like I said, we're lazy and we're greedy and we're picky now. So if we can just keep the marketing up, and again, we're spending a lot of money there, but we know that it all comes back because we are being very specific on what we're looking for.
That's really powerful, guys. I know for me, I get caught up in the trap of I need to do 70 deals, right? I've talked about this in the past of, I scaled up very quickly early on, right? I've done over 500 deals in my career. And what happened was when I was at like 350 deals, it was like I'd done that many deals, but I made no money, right? And the reason why is just transacting deals doesn't necessarily mean profit. And what's really cool about what you said is, and guys, I hope you caught this, like 12 deals a year, 12 flips, right? You can still capitalize on profit without doing that, right? Like with the other leads that are coming in. And, if you guys have been following Marty, which I'm sure a ton of you guys have, because Marty's a freaking baller. If you're not, go to his YouTube channel and follow him. But he's also getting into commercial. So these flips, I imagine, Marty, is they're providing the today money. So you can take some of that today money and feel very comfortable to then go into some of these big developments and these big projects that you're into. Would you say that's accurate or that it's a little bit different?
No, that's dead on. And to your point with the transactions, and we were just the same way. We wanted to do transactions and we had very transactional behavior, but like you just said, it doesn't equal to the profits. So and again, guys, now that we have employees and, all these different things, so 12 is what we need to be at. But when we first started, we were like, dude, if we could just do 4 a year, if we could just do 3 to 4 a year, we're going to be set. And that's true for so many people, right? And that's fantastic. And again, we had to go through all that. And one flip where you make 30, 40 grand might be a life changer. And that's amazing. And let that be. So just staying right there for a second. This is 6 years in, right, of doing this for a long time and being, 5 years full time at this. That's one thing, right? So a lot of people watching there, that's kind of where they're, oh, geez, 12 flips a year. That's crazy. Do one, make that one $25,000, $30,000 paycheck where you're like, wow, I did it. And by the way, what we did, and I hope everyone does this, is we always did a bang up job. We always went above and beyond on our flips, because now how are we getting all these great properties and we're not killing ourselves? Because we're getting referrals from other people because we did what we say we were going to do. We did a good job, and the quality is unmatched. We're not flippers. We're custom remodelers that happen to then sell the property, right? And you keep that sort of you keep that conviction, and people know about it. They want to be a part of that. They want to sell to you because they want to come to the house after. It's part of our pitch. Let me show you your house when you're done. Let me show you what I just did. You show shoddy work to somebody and go, hey, you want to come back and see your mom's house? No, I don't. Ugh, what is that you guys just did? No, we are serious. So that's number one. But yes, this is today money that allows us to really focus on the commercial side, the warehousing, the industrial, and the multifamily that we're doing. But it starts with the one, guys. Do the one, do a really good job, build up the reputation, and the rest will take care of itself.
I'm gonna ask you guys both a question, because you guys do a lot more fix and flips than I do, especially in this market. When you guys, like, when you're looking at stuff, because I know some markets, and I know during 2008, a lot of people got hurt in the real estate crash that were doing fix and flips, and they used hard money loans. How are you guys both analyzing, like, Marty, I know your market's still warm up there, and Ronnie, I'll go to you. Like,
hottest market in the nation, part of Time Magazine. Hot number one market in the United States is Rochester, New York. Let's go.
Yeah, I believe it. You guys, you're not feeling it. A lot of parts of the country, they're pulling back. So when these guys are doing the fix and flips, look at Austin, Texas. And, we have one right now where, the property, we went under contract and the property's already dropped during the time period where we're still going through the process. So how are you guys looking at when you're doing a fix and flip and you're looking at your numbers? Are you guys holding it? Are you looking at holding it? Or are you looking at, taking, Ronnie, why don't you answer that question?
Yeah, so I've actually adjusted slightly. I've been asking a lot of people questions in my market that have been here for a long time. And one of the things, guys, I moved to Michigan, 4 years ago now, 4 years ago. And so my history was in Dallas, right? Which is a completely different market, completely different dynamic. Just literally 180 turn. I had to learn something new. And so I have actually been calling around. I just did it today. There's a property that I'm thinking about buying and just turn around and relisting. It's in really good shape. And I reached out to a couple guys because I was just like, I have a couple concerns. What do you think? And what I'm seeing in my market is there's certain subcategories, certain sub areas that are really, really, really desirable and hot to buy in. For instance, I just finished one of my flips in Grand Haven, right? We put it up one day on the market. We got a whole bunch of offers and we sold it for $20,000 over, right? It's a sub market within my market that is very, very hot and very desirable. Well, there's other areas that are actually not desirable, right? Even within like Kent County in the main Grand Rapids area, there's some just areas that the houses don't have the best layouts. They're not really the nicest put together. They feel kind of janky, right? They don't have an old historic look. It just feels run down. And even when you fix it up. And so really it's understanding, and I've never been in a time, Mark, and to you too, Mark, I've never been in a time where really looking at the property and where it sits matters so much. I just did another one in Coopersville. I purchased it and I thought it was going to be a really good deal. And I lost a whole bunch of money on it. I had to bring money to the table to get rid of it because I just missed stuff on the due diligence. And so to answer your question, I think you have to really understand your area. Is your area declining? Are things staying on market? Is there an over amount of inventory, right? What are the listings on the market? What is the available competition? And what is what does the market need? And what areas are needed? And so it's hard going across the country because some areas, right? Like Boise, Idaho is getting hit. And like you said, Austin, Texas. And really, I think diving in and understanding what your buy box is and what's going to be a good investment, I think is probably one of the hardest things at the moment. And the thing that will cause people to get caught with their pants down is understanding where you're at, because you're right. If you don't have an exit, what's going to happen? You have no exit. Now you just have to bring money to the table to get out. And if you don't have it, you're going to be in a really hard spot. And so due diligence up front, like you want to know, right? You want to know that someone was died and buried under that house 130 years ago before you purchase this property. You want to know everything about it.
That's great. And just what you guys are talking about, like the deal that I have that I mentioned to you guys where I got 9 offers, I could do the fix and flip. I could go ahead and put it all in there and maybe squeeze an extra 25 out of it. But for me, I'm unsure where the market is, and I don't want to take that risk. I'd rather just take my profit. It's still gonna be a nice profit. I went into a lease option on it 3 years ago, sandwich lease option. The end buyer didn't purchase it. I ended up helping them back out with a little bit of their assignment feedback. I'm sorry, their option feedback. So I'm just going to just go ahead and close and just take the capital that I'm making and just move on instead of sticking into it. So that's how I'm looking at that, because the markets, for me, the market is, and even though the Florida market has been one of the greatest markets, been settling, but I'm still, I've been through the 2008 crash.
Well, and Mark, I want to kind of lean this back, because really, once you figure out what you want, you figure out the target area, is you find the deal. The next step in the fix and flip, guys, is really to arrange and figure out the financing, right? And you mentioned earlier you bought it subject to, which in one aspect is a part of the financing, right? You've built into the financing to the purchase. But are you looking for something when you're talking about finance? Like when someone's thinking about getting in, what are the different options they have, and what do you look for when you're going to go buy a deal? Is it, you mentioned hard money, you mentioned seller financing. What are some of those options and things that you're looking for?
For me, as you guys know, even when the market's been hot, and everybody's been doing the wholesaling and all that, I've always, 90% of my deals are always seller financing. I've been doing that for many, God, over 20 years. That's my main go-to. I always look at seller financing. That's my number one. And then I have capital partners that will come in and like use them to kind of do any type of improvements or anything like that. That's kind of what model is. But I know you guys, like Marty, what's your model when you go into the financing? How does that whole process look for you when you kind of do that?
Yeah, we're coming in cash, and that's a big part of why we're getting good deals, is because we can come in cash and we can tell them, and we can come into that wholesale pricing, because we are cash and we're fast, and yeah, we use hard money. And we all started, well, I shouldn't say we all, I started with 12 and 2, right? 12% and 2 points. That's pretty standard. I know it's kind of actually creeping up now. So, there's hard money lenders really in every market, and you kind of got to get punched in the face with those terms a little bit in the beginning, just to, build up a credit, build up credibility. But yeah, we do that now. We don't do that. We are still cash, but we have private money now, not hard money. So we have friends and family and business owners who, know what we're doing, because of that. We're doing stuff like this, right? Because, we're putting ourselves out there via social media, which is one of the episodes we talked about, and letting people know, and having a brand, right? Which takes work, but it's worth it, because people want to work with you because they know you're going to do what you say you're going to do. And then they see what you've done through videos and pictures, right? So yeah, it doesn't start like that, but we started just like anybody else has to. You find a really good deal that you have to have some exit strategies, like we would buy and hold it if necessary if you're buying cash, but we are cash. We come in cash. We can do some sub-2 stuff and creative stuff if we need to, but we like to just be very simple. The seller gets it. Typically, if that's the case, then we're working together.
Nice. Today I was on the phone with a lady that I'm trying to build a greater relationship with. And she's mentioned to me multiple times that she does lending and she lends money. And so I was talking to her, and she gave me her terms. And I asked, I probably could have asked it in a little less forward direction, but I was like, are you flexible on that? Right. And the reality is I've got other lenders that will do it a little bit less. And what I was really looking for was gap lending, right? Someone to lend the difference for flip costs and for my 10% down payment as a second lien. And she's like, I don't do that, but I know somebody who does. I'll make an introduction for you. And so that was really cool. But I turned around and I told her, I was like, I really want to build a bigger relationship with you. I think that, there's some opportunities for us. I like where you're at. I like your expertise. She's got a title company and some other stuff. And to your point, when you're building some of these relationships and when you're getting started, the cost is higher initially But as you build credibility, that cost keeps going. And she actually said, she's like, look, if we start doing deals and I really trust that this is what you're doing and that I can just, she's like, I have guys that are cheaper than this. And I know when they buy it, it's a deal. I don't even have to look at it. But what that looks like is as you're dealing with people's money, specifically lenders, they want to know the specifics. They want it to be pointed. They want to know what the return is going to be. And they want to know that you're credible. And it might be that when you go into a new relationship, you have to start higher. But the question is, what is that relationship downturn? When you go to a bank and you ask, hey, what's financing look like? You always want to say, hey, if we build a relationship, what will financing look like in 14 months, in 2 years? Will I have different terms? Do we have different options, or is it just this? Because if it's just this, I'll go somewhere else. But if it's different options that maybe it can get better, then I'm willing to put in that effort now and pay the price now.
So to your point, right? When we first started, we would buy in the inner city of Rochester, and houses would be like $18,000 to $25,000, right? And we were paying 12%. I keep saying 12 points. No, we're not doing 12 points. 12% and 2 points. Well, we have an opportunity to now borrow from that same lender. Now, 6 years later, $1.3 million for an apartment deal. Okay, so that just gives you kind of like an idea of it is a slow moving process, and if you care and it's something you really want to do and you are willing to just gut it out if you have to, and you just take it to the finish line, even if that means, like Ronnie said, I got to bring money to the table to get somebody out. But the credibility you build with that person, because again, it's other people's money is way more important than your own.
Yes.
And if you have that type of mindset, it's crazy what those relationships can do, because not even them, it's somebody else they know. Like you were saying, Ronnie, well, you should talk to this person, then this person, and that's kind of an issue when you have just one lender who keeps lending to you like we've had in the past. So now that we are getting into bigger projects, one of our struggles is now having to now build up a bigger base of folks where we can now, because it's a team sport when you're dealing with, multi-million-dollar projects. You kind of need a lot of different folks involved in that instead of just one. So, yeah, but it starts with the one. Do the one deal, do it the right way, make sure it works, even if that means you got to pay a bunch of money out of your pocket to get them out of there. But you do what you say you're going to do, and good things happen.
All right, Mark, I know we're coming to the end of our time. This has been an amazing episode. I feel like this has really brought out some meat for you guys and the step-by-step process of what that looks like. Mark, I know you've got multiple things going on. You itching to step into the next step?
No. Well, I just wanted to say something a little bit about the capital, because I've seen this happen where a lot of times, depending on how fast you need the capital, how long you use that capital, don't worry about if the rate is going to be a little bit more, because time is worth more than trying to go out there. I when I had my banking business, my mortgage banking business, we had to borrow like $10 million for like a few days for funding some loans. And I had one of my managers go out there and try to borrow, use one of the call lineup. And he spent literally almost a whole entire day just over a quarter of a point. I'm like, dude, the money that I'm paying you, I lost more on it just for you trying to save a quarter of a point on that. So kind of use a little bit of common sense in that. As long as your numbers work, for me, I'm looking at it, okay, if my numbers are work and I can go fast, I'm willing to pay a little bit more. That's all I'm saying on that. But eventually in the long run, you want to bring that capital down when you constantly keep going back to your lender on that. But
yeah, Mark, that is actually, guys, that's a gold nugget. That's a power play strategy. There's a lender that I have, and we can kind of come to a close. He's more expensive on the points up front, right? But he has two really big benefits. Number one, he'll cover 100% of the entire deal. So I don't have to bring any money. And two, I don't have to make any payments for 6 months. So what this does is, yeah, it's 5 points when I use him, but when I'm in other projects and something comes up, he has the money. He's ready to do it. We've built credibility. I've done multiple deals with him. That's like, he's not my first lender I go to, but when I do need a lender and I'm short on funds because I'm in other projects or I've got things going on, just like Mark said, sometimes it's not about fighting for that point. Sometimes it's like, yo, there's an opportunity here for blank and my resources are tied up over here. All right, call him. We'll pay him a little bit more because we're going to maximize this amount of deal, and it's a win-win. And so very, very strong point. Well, guys, we're coming to the top of the hour. This has been an awesome, awesome session. We might have to do a part 2 because I feel like we only got through like half the rehab process. But final things. I like doing the round table at the end. Final nuggets. Marty, why don't you kick us off with your final nugget? Things that people can
work with a partner on these, right? I would highly suggest, unless you have substantial means. You know, we were coming from high 6-figure jobs when we started flipping houses, right? So we could afford a loss. If that's not you, then work with someone who is experienced and has done it, and partner with them, find the deal, and then they can, you know, even if that means, hey, I got a deal and I just want to watch you do it. Yeah, that might be it if you're working with somebody incredible, right? So find somebody that's done this and that's doing it successfully, and then add value to them. And I promise you, they're going to add value back to you.
I love it. Mark?
100%, especially if you don't know the market and you're doing it virtually. Find a good team. Find a really good realtor to work with because they know the market, and then a realtor most likely will know some good contractors, or just reach out to some other investors in your network that may be in that community and reach out to them. Sometimes these investors want to keep the really good contractors to themselves. They don't like sharing them, so keep that in mind. But thank you guys. It was really good. And Ronnie, we'll let you close it out.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, guys, I think that is one of the strongest things, because just this last Friday, I'm getting into some more and just researching development. And I don't know what I don't know, right? In some of the aspects, especially when it comes to like affordable housing and some of this other stuff. And so I went out and I basically told them, I was like, hey, I want to get into this and I want to be as much value as I can for you. And I don't need anything. Like literally, I'll walk through the whole deal. I'll take whatever weight you're willing to share if you just want to dish it out slowly. I don't need anything, but I do want to shadow. I do want to see, and I do want to help you succeed. So maybe we could do something in the future. It's such a powerful move to be willing to do something for free. You know, I think it was Jay Van Andel that says you can make a living working 9 to 5. But it's when you work 5 to 10 for free that you make a fortune. And especially at the beginning, guys, if you don't know the game, like getting next to somebody to be able to walk you through those steps. What does it look like to find the deal? What does it look like to analyze the deal? What does it look like to do due diligence? What does it look like to fund it? What does it look like to do the project management? What does it look like to actually stage this property and turn around and list it? And what does it look like to actually go to the closing table and profit and take those monies and separate it for taxes, for all of those things afterwards? These are all part of the process with fix and flips. And being able to shadow someone or JV with me or Mark or Marty or anybody for that matter is such a massive education, because the truth is, and I'll leave it with this, you're going to pay the price one way or another, right? You're going to either pay the price by making a mistake and learning the hard way, or you're going to learn from other people's mistakes and you're going to be able to model and go that way. So guys, get out there, make your money, make it happen. Guys, this is Real Estate Power Play. We're here every Tuesday. We're coming. We've started to go live and we like the interaction that you guys have. We'll be here next week. Until next time, guys. Peace.
This has been another episode of Real Estate Power Play, guiding real estate entrepreneurs to a brighter future. If you liked what you heard, consider subscribing wherever you listen to your podcast, or follow us on YouTube at Real Estate Power Play.